Hello all and welcome back to another wonderful video. Today we're going to be talking about some species here because this is another species in-depth video. Today we're going to be talking about Feesh and Wythenics. Now these species were both created by the same creator. The Feesh were created in October of 2019. The Wythenics were created in December of the same year, 2019. So they were created relatively close to each other, but there's definitely more attention brought on to the Feesh than there was the Wythenics, and you'll probably learn a little bit more about both if you stick around. So today we're going to be talking about both of these species, and we're going to go in depth. We're going to talk about their diets, what they look like. I'm going to give some critiques about them and everything like that, and we're just going to make a little rad video about this. If you want to get your own species in depth, a species of your own or a species that you know of that you want me to go in depth on, let me know in the comments and I'll get to them. I already have a list of species that I'm going to be talking about next week, maybe. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but soon I'm going to be doing care robo because that is next up on the list. So if you're interested in the care robo species, stick around on the channel, subscribe, turn on notifications or something like that, and when I get that video out, you'll see it. You'll be able to get an in-depth discussion on care robos. But today we're going to be talking about Feesh and Wythenics. So the Feesh, as you probably could guess, are an aquatic-based species, but what you may not be able to guess is that they have special variants. Now, there's something that this person told me that I don't quite understand, and that's they told me that they have special variants that come once a month. I don't quite understand what that means. I don't know if that means like every month one of the Feesh can just suddenly change to a different type of Feesh, but there's currently like a hierarchy of the three types. There's a saltwater, they're at the top. The saltwater Feesh, they're at the top of the top. Then you have the deep water Feesh, which are in the middle. They're not too, low or not too high up in their hierarchy. And then you have the freshwater Feesh, which are at the bottom of the hierarchy. The saltwater Feesh, they are not too bright, not too dark. That's usually how you can discern which is which. The saltwater Feesh are fast swimmers. They're faster than pretty much any other fish in the sea. Then you have the deep water Feesh, which are a little bit darker. They're like dark colors and stuff like that. They are they have giant sharp teeth. They have razor sharp claws hidden in their paws because they all have paws, which is kind of interesting in of itself. Yeah, they're just carnivorous and everything like that. They're like a darker version of the other species, the other types, I guess. Then you have the freshwater, which are bright and vibrant. They are great caretakers. Their bodies naturally produce clean water. So it's actually, since they're great caretakers and they produce clean water, it's good to have them, babysit or watch over, younger and stuff like that, especially while a deep water guards them. But yeah, then you have a bigger explanation on their hierarchy and everything like that. So you have the saltwaters, which are normally royalty, top of the top. Like I said, they're at the top of the hierarchy. They're usually powerfully political. They're politically wise. They're usually leaders, popular, that sort of thing. So then you have the deep water, which is the middle class. They're not too low on the hierarchy. They're not too up on the hierarchy. They're the most average that you'll see. Pretty common. They're known to be tough and gritty. Like I said, they have sharp claws and sharp teeth, so of course they're tough and gritty. Some are nice though, some and shine through the dark depths. I don't quite understand what that means, but I think that's just a metaphor. The deep water Feesh are also more commonly known to be guards and stuff like that for, I would assume, the saltwaters. Then you have the freshwater Feesh, which are the lowest of the low. These are the farmers, the workers, that sort of thing. They can't really do much since freshwater is rare in these parts. I don't know what that means, but they said it's rare in these parts. I assume they mean in wherever they live. Freshwater Feesh are a little bit more rare, I guess. They commonly farm stuff like algae, and stuff like seaweed and stuff like that. So on to the diet of these Feesh. So they have a set diet which basically consists of basically anything. They're really just omnivores. They usually prefer seaweed, but there's some, like the deep water Feesh, who like to prey on other fish. They will hunt other fish, stuff like that. Since nothing can really grow deep in the depths, they end up becoming stuff like carnivores, and they usually prefer for other fish and stuff like that, since you're not really going to grow really good crops or anything really deep in the ocean where these deep water fish normally would be. So that's pretty much it. Other than that, there's not really anything special about their lore, diet, anything like that. So we can move on to the win-phenix. But before we do, I want to go ahead and put up an image of what a fish looks like. This is actually a saltwater type fish. So as you can see, it's not too bright, not too dark, which in my opinion, it seems like it's a little bit brighter than it would be dark. So I don't know. No one sees the same colors, so who really knows? But anyway, I really like the way this looks, but at the same time, it seems like it's just like they kind of just got a normal character and just made the whole thing bluish colors. In my opinion, that's kind of what it looks like. I really like it because, you know, you obviously have the fish tail and everything like that. I really love the way that it's color graded, I guess you could say. I don't know how to say this, but the color gradient, the gradient of going from darkish to a little bit brighter as it goes up is a really nice touch to how they look. I think this is something that if you saw, you would immediately be like, oh yeah, that's definitely part of something, but I have no idea what it's part of. And then you could read the name and be like, Feesh, okay, let me look that up, you know. So this seems like something that just by looking at it, I can tell is something. I wouldn't say it's the best design ever, but I would assume that if you went into like actually drawing it, you know, traditionally, digitally, however, I feel like if you drew it and without the limitations of Ponytown, this would look very amazing. You would have a ponyish, doggish fish type creature that has a very water-like body and everything like that. I just think that would look very amazing if it wasn't just limited by Ponytown. And I think that they kind of nailed it when it comes to making it stand out versus some other thing. But anyway, let's move on to win-phenix. So the win-phenix are they're basically, I mean, they're a joke. They were literally created as a joke. They told me that they created it in December of 2019 when they were sleep deprived with their friend. So they created it with their friend, and yeah, you can tell just by looking at the story of it and everything like that. So essentially, the story is that a scientist was exploring wildlife in a jungle. They stumbled upon a wyvern city. Now, a wyvern, if you don't know what a wyvern is, this is what a wyvern is. This is a known species. It's basically a type of dragon that don't have arms. They have back legs, and their arms are kind of combined with their wings. So that's what a wyvern is, and essentially what this species is a wyvern with robot arms. So they end up finding this wyvern city, and the wyvern city is somewhat civilized, so they let the man stay, and they eventually learn how to speak to each other. And the scientist is like, hey, you know, I noticed none of you guys have arms. I can hook you up. I can make some, you know, awesome robot arms or something like that if you want to. The leader eventually was like, hey, that sounds cool, let's do it. He gives them some guards, the guards like them, and it just kind of spreads from there. Everyone starts getting these robot arms. There's a price to it. In order for them to do this, in order to give them the robot arms, they have to make more of their body robot than what you would think. It kind of doesn't make much sense. I think that's definitely something that needs to be fleshed out, because it just says that in order to help them control the arms, they need more robotish parts, basically. So it's kind of cool. I imagine this species would look really cool too, but at the same time, it's just such a joke, and I can tell it's such a joke just by reading this and everything else. You know, once they got these arms and everything like that, these little bit of robot parts and everything like that, it allowed these dragons to, you know, learn more languages, be able to speak more languages, and become even more civilized and smart than what they already were. Basically, there's another type of win-phenix, and I don't know why they did this, but they decided to name the babies a different thing. So the Wyken are a different thing, but they're the same thing. They're basically just a baby win-phenix without their robotics. So I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they named that something different, but they did. So go ahead and throw that in there. But yeah, the win-phenix are the most advanced type of dragon. They're really smart and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. There's not really much to say about the win-phenix. That's kind of why I wanted to mash it with the fish, especially since, you know, the fish themselves didn't have a whole lot. But I still think that they both have a lot of potential and everything like that. I'm gonna go ahead and put up an image of the win-phenix on screen now. The win-phenix, in my opinion, doesn't look like it belongs to a species. One thing that I think could possibly improve it is to remove the mane completely, like remove all the hair on the head and the back mane and stuff like that. I think that could help it a little bit, since dragons don't normally have hair, and I don't know why. But yeah, I think that's something that you could do to change that. Make it a rule where you can't have hair on these species. I think that would help a lot. But other than that, I don't really see much else to help with the species or anything like that. All I can really say is it looks good, I guess, and it would definitely look better on paper than it would in Ponytown. But looking at a win-phenix, I wouldn't think much of it. I would be like, oh, that's just some OC or something like that. And then I would read that it's a win-phenix, and I'd be like, oh, so it's just some dragon or something like that. It's probably what I would tell myself. So looking at it, I can't really say that it looks like a species or it belongs to something big or anything like that. And I think this kind of goes back to the last video when I talked about the cybotics. I think it's hard to make a cyborg type species, especially in something like Ponytown, because what you're going to end up doing is it's just going to look like nothing. It's not going to look like anything unique or special or anything like that, because it's essentially literally going to be a cyborg. You're going to take one animal or one creature or one thing, and then you're going to give it robot parts and then call it something new. And that, I don't want to call it lazy, but it can be. The win-phenix are just thrown together like a shitpost, which is kind of fun and funny and interesting. And I think there's a lot of story that can be told with both of these species. I would argue that maybe the win-phenix, since you kind of technically already have a little bit more of backstory going on with these, like the Feesh, you kind of have a hierarchy and that's pretty much it. You don't really have a whole like, oh, they do this normally, or this is kind of their rules and stuff like that. There's nothing about the Feesh with the backstory and everything like that. The win-phenix already have a foundation for a story. I guess the Feesh do too, but I feel like the win-phenix kind of already have a stronger ground for a story, which is kind of interesting because the win-phenix definitely aren't as fleshed out as the Feesh. But anyway, yeah, that's going to do it for the video. I wanted to talk about these two species, kind of give my thoughts on them, you know, give the facts, give the thoughts. That's how these things work. And yeah, next week, and maybe next week, I don't know how long it's going to take, but probably next week, we're going to talk about kit robos. And if you want to stick around for that, you can subscribe and turn on notifications so you get alerted when that video does come out. But yeah, kit robos is next. If you want your species or something that you know of that you want me to talk about in Ponytown, or not Ponytown, I guess, but if you want me to go in depth with your species, let me know in the comments below. I'll add you to the list. There's only like 3 or 4 more on my list right now, so go ahead and start requesting things now, or you will take a really long time to get there. I'm gonna be honest with you, it'll probably take a while to get to you eventually anyway, but go ahead and comment now, because my list is pretty short right now, so your best chance is to do it early. But anyway, yeah, that's definitely gonna do it for the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do those wonderful things, because when you do those wonderful things, you get access to wonderful content such as this. But that's not all you get. That's not all you get. You also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.